That's what we are here for, as we are loading into our lower semifinals. Predictions will soon be open in the chat, so you can place your bets on who you think will face Dark in the finals. Will it be one Terran or the other?
Terran. Speaking of which, we are here now on hard lead. Over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran player coming out from the land of Korea. He, of course, is, yes, representing Team Liquid. We have Liquid Cure.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Chinese Terran player, the blue Terran representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira.
There have been so many, Terran players being picked up by teams that I think my brain kind of molded them all together. I almost said representing Na'Vi. But I was like, no, that's all right.
Almost, but yeah, it has been really cool to see all these players get picked up, and as you mentioned, Terran players especially getting picked up by teams. Really cool to see the support flowing here for StarCraft, and yeah, especially leading into DreamHack Atlanta, it's big. Like, a lot of these players are kind of peaking at the moment. Cure, one of the best Terrans in the world right now, arguably the best TvP player in the world as well. Unfortunately, there's no Protoss to face off against, but, you know, like, Cure has been looking damn good.
Yeah, absolutely has. Being picked up by Team Liquid definitely helps out a lot as well.
Definitely.
Between Cure and Clem, Liquid has a lockdown on the C players.
Yeah.
The C Terrans.
There you go. I'm still, you know what? I'm still on the fence. Like, whenever I cast Team Liquid in WTL, I'm still on the fence whether I want to call Clem the ace player or Cure the ace player. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I feel like if we're looking at Team Liquid specifically, historically Clem has been the ace.
Yeah.
He has been the one being thrown out in those best of ones, clutching things out, and helping Team Liquid continue forward. But Cure, he's no slouch.
He is no slouch. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's one of those things where Cure, he has to earn his stripes, He has to. It isn't just about being like the best player, but he's got to really prove himself to the team, He's got to be there when they need him most.
Exactly. He's gonna have to reverse all kill.
Oh my god. He needs to reverse all kill Team Basilisk. I'm ready for it. But for now, we're getting into our openers. It was double gas opener from both players, so faster factories, and we should be getting into Cyclone production. And I don't know if you've been watching much TvT recently in the new patch, Yaku, but there has been a bit of a shift in the meta with the new Cyclone especially, and players like Cure, Clem as well, the Team Liquid Terran boys, they have been embracing a lot of early game Cyclone play.
All I know is that in TvT, a lot of Terran players overestimate the ability of a Cyclone being able to go head-to-head against 5 Reapers.
You're like,
that's been my experience in TvT.
Like, man, I didn't care about your goddamn Cyclones, all right? I'm opening up with the coffee build. I'm coming at you with 5 Reapers, and I'm gonna kill you. Okay? It's like, oh, I see. I understand. But here we go. Oliveira going to be opening up with a bit of a drop play here. We have 1 Cyclone, 1 Hellion, and 2 Reapers. A bit of a kitchen sink moving out across now to deal some economic damage. Meanwhile, at the same time, Cure is moving out with his mass Cyclone, and he will have some Cyclones defensively back at home just coming out of the production.
Yeah, it's not quite the coffee build, but replace Hellions with Cyclones, and that's exactly what Cure is doing, especially with that Liberator follow-up. Cure, unfortunately, has nothing at home, so Oliveira is gonna have a bit of a field day until those 2 Cyclones popped out. Good use of KDA charge, bouncing a couple of those Cyclones, but unfortunately not bouncing them back far enough to really break their lock-on.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, Oliveira, both players losing a lot of those SCVs, has to take control, or Cure does take control of the natural base of Oliveira for at least a moment, forced to pick up, and Cure is eventually forced out. And as the dust does settle, worker counts are looking pretty similar here. Cure wants to try to catch that medevac, but he's being forced back.
Yeah, Oliveira set up a brilliant trap over here, being able to catch Well, being able to catch a Cyclone and whatnot. Meanwhile, the Liberator really coming in clutch here for Cure. That's okay, 4 kills, but in addition to all of the other worker kills earlier on, Cure will be pulling far, far ahead in the worker count.
Yeah, amidst all the chaos, Cure, he does come out ahead, as you were saying, still making nothing but Cyclones at this point. Getting into his transition, it's going to be a third CC. Fast third CC from both players. Oliveira slightly faster than Cure's. I believe Cure, after he saw it with the Liberator, then he threw down his own. And yeah, both players working towards a later game.
So this is TvT now, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're playing back. Like, they're massing Cyclones now, but eventually they'll get into Biotank. Eventually. It's just, you know, like,
well,
it's a
we
game
say
of chicken.
that, but... Yeah, we say that, but that's still a lot of Cyclones.
Yeah.
And, okay, Cure going to be the first player to really commit to Bio. Going to be switching things up a little bit. Apparently we need a lot of Cyclones now to defend in TvT.
Yeah. I was kind of joking, but not really earlier when I was talking about how the problem with TvT at the moment is that if you ever stop making Cyclones and you start going into your transition a little bit earlier, then your opponent just has more Cyclones, they can just kill you. Like, it's it's a really tense
it's an
moment.
arms race.
Yeah. As a couple more workers go down to the main base, once again, Oliveira down heavily here in the worker count. He has to make some magic happen. Looking at the units here, Oliveira does have the slight Raven lead. He doesn't have much else going his way, but with that Raven lead, he can maybe push out and trade more efficiently, but we now get a third Raven for Cure. And a fourth.
Yeah, and a fourth on the way. Very surprising. Interference Matrix done for both of our players here. And Oliveira being the first player to get those Ravens. You know, he has been able to gain a bit more energy. He does have, you know, they're even on the Raven count, but he does have the energy lead for the time being. Cure anticipating a little bit of a counter harass coming out from Oliveira. Unfortunately, didn't quite expect the medevac to come in through the middle of the main base.
Yeah, so we get some damage done. We almost get the Deeper. Deeper is going to be burning, but we get an SCV. We're going to be able to repair. We're going to be able to top it up. We do get eyes on the timing of the third CC. That's a lot of lock-ons on the base.
Yeah, but they do get broken up. That's a lot of auto charts, though, and that will give Oliveira a bit of a DPS advantage. All of the Ravens are now down. Cure has the defender's advantage, but it seems like it's not quite enough to make up for the sheer DPS of all of these Cyclones and auto charts. The third base goes down, and that is one hell of a way to come back here from a worker deficit.
Exactly. Those auto tarts came in clutch. As you mentioned, they did fare better for Oliveira in the end. Despite being even in Cyclones, Oliveira was able to overwhelm and overcome Cure. And with that, that's a kill on the third base. That's a massive lead here for Oliveira.
Absolutely is. Just like that, he's already catching back up on the worker count, and he's going to be able to climb a little bit ahead. You know, he's got triple orbital production. Cure, with that orbital going down, he not only has to rebuild the CC, he also has to take time to morph it into an orbital command. Orbital.
Yeah.
I just realized we've been calling it orbital so much that I know there's another word after orbital, but now I can't. It's orbital command, right?
It is. Yeah. You
there we go.
You got it. Yeah.
Just call them orbitals. It's easier.
I like how you can hear it in your voice where, like, the profanity, you're like, the orbital command? And it's like the sudden wave of realization. That's what it's called. Oh. It's crazy. It turns from a command center into an orbital command. It makes sense.
Yeah. Command goes from the first word to the second. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of retaliation coming out from Cure. A very expensive retaliation with this tank. Will be catching a lot of workers. Will be catching one eBay. Oh, Cure actually with the much better upgrades will actually be able to stand toe-to-toe against all of these Cyclones.
Yeah, 1-1 is done for Cure. 1-1 still on the way for his opponent, only making one upgrade at a time. Actually, and Cure is pushing forward again. The pressure is on him to get damage done. He's diving on top of the tanks. The tanks are exposed.
Ooh. Very exposed. Oliveira a little bit later when it comes to his marine production, and as a result, yeah, he won't really be able to have a buffer for his tanks. On top of that, his marines are also worse upgraded, so Cure is pulling ahead. I was really worried for him for a sec, Cure, yeah. I mean, but very aggressively, very decisively decides to go for this follow-up counterattack.
Yeah, taking down 3 tanks in total. Leapfrogging forward here as well. The boys, they're being pulled. GG gets called. Cure with a decisive push and takes down Oliveira, takes game number 1.
Wow. Very chaotic game. One that I think could have really gone either way there. It's just, I'm just very impressed by Cure to be able to identify these moments where he's like, no, I should counterattack now. And, you know, these moments where he is decisive, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, things were going the way of Oliveira. Like, he had a really strong start there, killing that third base. But as we saw, the drop, there was a lot happening there, right? The drop traded with the Cyclones, right? But it also distracted the mobile army of Oliveira, dragging it into the main base. And that did expose the front line. That did expose the tanks. And Cure was able to just wedge his way in between the bases and go for the kill move. That was it felt like a very small window of opportunity for Cure, but he squeezed his way into it. And yeah, very decisive play.
Yeah. I think we both kind of caught on to it that after Cure's third went down, he had the early game advantage, but that advantage was very quickly disappearing. And in fact, the longer the game went on, Oliveira would have been able to pull much further ahead economically. So Cure, he recognized this is my one window, I have to make use of it, and then he just, blew a hole through the wall. If that's a metaphor. But anyway, I'm seriously asking. You know, it's been a long time since I've took literature. Anyway, here we are now continuing our series on Okian Bjorn, where we're here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have our red Terran player coming out from the land of Korea once again, formerly the mayor of Sick City, now the one level ahead governor? Question mark of Sick County. Look, I live in a country that's one city. We have representing Team Liquid. It is Cure.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Chinese Terran player, the blue Terran, down in this series, looking to fight back, representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Oliveira. And what I love about that last game as well, Yaku, is that it was quite back and forth. Like, both players, they had their moments. Both players were able to take their own wins. And yeah, like, I hope at least we get to sink our teeth a little bit more into this and even get an ace match. We've yet to have one so far tonight. It's been 2-0s all around.
What I really like about that last game is that it's brought all the Terran players into chat.
Yeah, the Dolph is there. We do have Frost as well, and I'm sure Asher is lunking in the chat as well, just like embracing the Cyclone. I'm sure he likes it. He loves it.
Yeah. That's what we want.
It is. And yeah, that last game, it wasn't anything too fancy either, outside of positional play. I guess one of the notable things is that Cure was able to hit a bit of a faster, you pointed it out, right? A bit of a faster upgrade timing, where Oliveira was a little bit, like, a couple seconds behind in his upgrades, and that actually was impactful. Like, Cure actually made use of that window as well, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the replay, but I don't remember when Oliveira's stim finished up, so... Again, he was relying a lot on his Cyclones and unupgraded Marines for defense, but Cure, just one stim, and that's all it really takes to overpower Cyclones.
Oh, it is, and we do trade 1-for-1 in the end. Both players are going to be losing their Reapers. I was concerned that Cure would be a little bit vulnerable, but we're okay as we're getting our CCs on the low ground behind this, getting into our factory production, and yeah, we do have our 1-1-1s on the way, so... For the time being, things are going to be settling on down here, and I'm sure eventually we'll be getting back into those Cyclones.
Yep. Look, it's just the natural state of TvT now.
Yeah. Embrace it, Bobby. Embrace it.
Yeah. That's how we've evolved.
There we go. The Cyclone production is going to be commencing here from Oliveira, at least. Cure still not going for an add-on swap. Interesting, he's going for a drop first. Medevac is on the way, and he's looking to be a little bit more assertive this time.
This is what Oliveira did in game number 1.
Yeah.
Seeing a little bit of a complete reversal now.
Yeah, very interesting here. So essentially, we are working towards Cyclones, of course, but we have a drop coming out first. If Oliveira moves out at the wrong time, then he won't have anything at home to defend. Things can get very chaotic. But as you mentioned, in the last game, things got chaotic for both players, and they both kind of traded almost evenly. Where, like, they both lost like 8 to 12 workers, and yeah, in the end, it did go the way of Cure initially, but we saw how things kind of bounced back and forth between them.
All about that Liberator, man. Speaking of which, I was kind of expecting Oliveira to be the one to go into Liberators and Cure to be the one to go into Ravens, but no, for the time being, Oliveira still teching into Ravens, Cure still teching into a Liberator.
Exactly, still sticking to their guns from the last game. Cyclone does get dropped into the main base, but we have defensive Cyclones nonetheless. A couple of workers are going to be going down, but we shut down one of those Cyclones, both even.
And the medevac will live, but will not be able to bring any cargo back home.
Yeah, and that was a brutal trade for Cure. He lost a lot of units there for only 2 SCVs. Not sure if that was really worth it, especially losing his Cyclone. Meanwhile, Oliveira, after shutting that down, immediately CC on location. A bit of a greedy maneuver here, but he's feeling confident after what just happened.
Yeah, he knows he's safe. He knows that this was pretty much the only opening that... or rather the only force in Cure's opening, so he might as well just go for it, you know?
Oh, yeah, exactly, as we do see Cure dipping in, scouting as well. I believe he just saw that we had a reactor on the racks, so he's aware that we've stopped Cyclone production. We're getting into tank production instead. Oliveira, he's going to be cutting Cyclones here at 5. Meanwhile, Cure is not stopping, so he will have a Cyclone lead, and he knows he has a Cyclone lead as well. He's pushing out.
Yeah, he knows he needs to make use of this lead while he can. He did catch eyes on that third base with his medevac, so it's really up to him to try to slow this down.
Oh, exactly, and we'll see if he can do so. The tank is still in production. Auto targets are going to be on the way for both players.
Yeah, but one more here for Oliveira. And that's one enough to really chase this back from Cure. Cure unable to punish the earlier third base of Oliveira. Catches a couple of SCVs with his Liberator, but he's going to need to do a lot more than that to really catch back up.
Yeah, it shows the power of the faster Raven. Remember, right? Like Oliveira, because he had the faster Raven, he had 1 extra auto turret in that fight, and that was enough to force Cure back. Meanwhile, Cure, he's still pumping out Cyclones, by the way. His goal here is to still break this location. He does have Interference Matrix. This one tank, there's so much riding on it. If it gets disabled, then Cure can break this.
Yeah, Cure sharking around, trying to see if there is an opening. Don't think he's caught eyes on the tank just yet. Throws out a couple of auto turrets for the extra DPS. Not sure if that was the right call, though, because Oliveira, with his own Ravens, with his auto turrets, will be able to completely shut this down.
Yeah, exactly. And Oliveira, he's getting away with getting into faster tank production. We do have the Liberator to the main base. We still get damage done. That is 8 kills in total. Not too shabby, actually. Not too bad. Oliveira now taking a deficit in workers.
Yeah, that Liberator definitely paid for itself. Like you mentioned, Oliveira does have a bit of a deficit on the worker count. Cure's Orbital did come in a lot later. His third base did come in a lot later, but now it's up and running, so... Yeah, it's not like they should be on even worker production. They will both be on even base count.
They will be on the even basis. Cure with a slightly better economy. Something that is important that we have kind of been alluding to this entire time. Because Oliveira went into faster tank production, Oliveira does have a tank lead. And that is going to be important and impactful in this TvT. It's going to be on Cure to try to surpass that in some way. Try to outposition his opponent or go for drop play. We'll see if he can pull that off. As for now, things are going to be settling down and we're establishing our thirds.
Yeah. Or you can mass Cyclone and overwhelm the tanks.
That's like, we saw what just happened. Okay, it's not gonna happen. I like the enthusiasm, Yaku. I like it. I look forward to the next Yaku ladder session. I look forward to it.
Look, if this is where TvT's going, then I'm going all in.
It's Cure pops up in the chat.
This is what we have to do now, you know.
Cure's like, Yaku, this is not what I was doing. This is not how you do it. And you're like, no, you just master Cyclone, right? That's what you do. That's what you did. Oh god.
Look how many Cyclones he got, you know?
Aye. As here we go, the split pushes our opponents. We got Cyclones towards the left-hand side. We have a double drop towards the right here. Oliveira is trying to spread out his tanks to protect his bases, and so far he is in position. We'll see if Cure can find a way in.
Yeah, he's trying to. Definitely trying, but yeah, this is a very well spread out tank line. Marines are going to be shelled away from just about every single angle.
Yeah, the main, though, we have Cyclones in position. We have a turret as well, so Oliveira just fortifying himself so well. We could maybe try to boost past, especially if Oliveira isn't paying attention. We'll see if Cure can find a way in. Hopefully he doesn't overextend, because that's a lot of supply here in these medevacs. Would be a big loss if you were to lose them.
He absolutely would, but Cure still wants to play aggressive. He is still maneuvering his army forward. He's got a couple of tanks, a couple of Cyclones. I believe he has a Raven lead. Yeah, Oliveira actually lost all of his Ravens. Cure is the only player with a Raven right now. One medevac will go down with most of its Marines, but the rest of them will land as well. Cure was really hoping that this would be an opening for him. This would provide an opening for him, rather, to really set things up. And yeah, okay, he's establishing a foothold.
Yeah, I mean, he disables one of the tanks, he shuts it down. Forces, he does finish just in time. We'll be able to lift and avoid the tank fire. Cure is not in a bad position, and here we go. In the midst of all this, going for a double drop once again into the main base. The Cyclones are no longer here. There is an opening.
There is, but this is a very risky maneuver right now for Cure. He doesn't really have a buffer for his tanks. Oliveira moves all of his Marines forward. He will be not losing too many of them. He will be able to clean up every single tank. Meanwhile, the double drop from Cure will land, but it feels a little bit late.
Yeah, exactly. What can we really pick up? Actually, we can get the E-base. It looks like we can deny +2 attack, which is nice, but we should be cleaned up. There's no escape here. The medevac goes down, and Oliveira shuts down the drop, shut down the army. Oliveira, can we push out from here? Throughout all of this, Cure has been heavily making workers. He's up to 82 SCVs. He has his 4th already up and running.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a very costly trade for Cure. It opens him up. It makes him very vulnerable to a counterattack, but looking at the army supplies, Cure has not neglected his production at all. They're still pretty comparable.
Yeah, I mean, because of the better economy, Cure has been able to make use of that with a better army, or to be able to reinforce his army that much faster as well. He does dive for a Doom Drop into the main base as well, getting some SCVs and forcing Oliveira to turn back around. He gets a full medevac.
It's a lot of supply being caught up. You can see that in the army supply. Cure up 40 supply at the moment. A lot of workers going to go down as well, because fun fact, you can attack them from the high ground with Marines. Cure not stopping, by the way, still as aggressive as ever. He is looking to absolutely take down this 4th base and once again completely cripple Oliveira's economy.
This game, it was sheer macro out of Cure, because that was a bad fight that he took, right? His tank count completely reset, Oliveira shutting him down, but because Cure already had a 4th up and run, because he already had the better economy and the better production, he just remaxes, rebuilds, and he just gets further and further ahead. Oliveira at this point is pretty committed, pretty all in. He just lost the base. We have to send it.
Yeah, this is kind of Hail Mary here for Oliveira. If he can take out a base or two, then I think this game can keep on going. If he can wipe out the army and get right in the heart of Cure's production, he should be able to win, but that's much easier said than done. GG is called as, yeah, Oliveira scans forward and does not like his prospects. GG, very nicely done from both our players, honestly. That was a bit of an unfortunate end here for Oliveira, but I do think that this was probably the closest series that we've had this evening, despite the 2-0.
100%. It was a back and forth here in game 1, and even here in game number 2 as well. And this is also why, like, again, keep your eyes on Cure. He's a little bit underrated as a player, but he's damn good, damn powerful, and was able to win it here in the end. And yeah, especially game 2 was very impressive from Cure, right? For him to at times be maybe overextending or being a little bit careless with his army, but being able to sustain those losses anyway, like that was impressive.
Yeah. How's that old saying go? You don't need to win fights if you're rich.
Is that a saying? Is that
something like that? If it's not a saying, it should be a saying.
There you go. There you go. GG, well played. Cure will be advancing on here. Will be advancing on into the grand finals, where he has his opponent ready and waiting. It is going to be Cure versus Dark.
Indeed. A ZVT, bring it back to the, I want to say, the middle of 2022. I do feel like for a good stretch, if it wasn't Dark versus Hero in every finals of ESL Open Cup Asia, it was Dark versus Cure.